Greetings, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day, or at least a decent one, because I'm about to steal a few minutes of it for myself to talk and show you my own experience with media plus technologies in format well known called as my Technobiography. My name is Martin. I'm the first year student of bachelor degree on University of Saint Cyril and Methodius in Trnava under program Theory of Digital Games. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it, shall we? Oh, yeah. First things first, I want to mention that I'll divide this experience in two sections. One being technobiography for software, which contains medias, platforms, programs, and etc. And the second would be for hardware, which are basically the devices. With software, it's complicated. If we talk about school related IT softwares, those are mainly programs. Since I was to have this clearly and laid out, I will go chronologically with each part of the section. So I'll start with the school ones chronologically, then I'll move on with own hobby related, also chronologically, and then with the hardware as well. When it comes to programs, few of them, as Microsoft Office Bundle, those are basics. Each one of us have some sort of experience with it. I have too, since my primary school. There is not much worth to say, but what it is that from primary school, I had first experience with audio program, which is Audacity. Here you can see the entire program itself and the space in the software. I'm not gonna go by all of it. I'm just gonna mention that we learn how to edit in here, combine, and clean the audio files. From primary school, we'll move on to high school. Since I studied the network technologies, my class had access to a specific program called Packet Tracer, which was developed by Cisco, the most well-known network system. Basically, in this program, you just create network system, then you work with the IPs of the devices and connect them with IP protocols. You just make some sort of grid in it. Won't go more deeper. It's for the server administration, the same platform, and the principle with servers is the same. You just create the grid for the servers. For the web developing and backend programming, main platform I use and still sometimes am using is VS Code Studio, well known as Visual Code Studio. This is the Visual Code. You can see a little bit of the front end, which is graphic programming, and this is the side, which is related to this code. I can show you, for example, little sections of it, such as the contact view, which is this one. I'll switch it into the side so you can see the contact. Then I can, for example, try price list. I won't go to the specifics, but the price list kind of shows like this, a little bit of interaction here. I even can show you some CSS, which is just additional graphic changes. It's like a front height, font weight, color, border, text transform. Then there is a Blender, the free open 3D program for modeling and animation, which I had experienced since my high school for the subject we had. The Blender is pretty much one of the most easiest programs to learn in. I myself has developed skills from the basics. Here you can see a few of my projects I did back in the day. When it comes to the university now, I am using a different, way more licensed version, which is a 3D Max program, which is also 3D space program. Did a few projects with it, but I think I stay with Blender. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a pretty amazing program itself, but I still stay with Blender because the controls and keyboard shortcuts are still confusing me in 3D Max program. And since I already learned the shortcuts and keyboard shortcuts in my memory, I'll just stick to the Blender. There is also an Arduino experience, but I'll talk about it later with hardware because that software was made only for chip system. Last thing I want to show you that I have still installed is Eagle, a software for circuit diagram design, and I will come back to it later as well because it will be relevant to one of my experiences with hardware. I also scratched the surface a bit with Unity, which is a C# game program for developing, but I did only one tutorial when helping friend with this project. Also, I have a pretty decent experience with Adobe Photoshop and Premiere. I have a massive wave of using Photoshop in winter semester, mainly for drawing. This PowerPoint presentation kind of summarizes all of my work so far. With Premiere, I do still work on projects, such as this one. I'm gonna edit the entire video here. I edit videos in it in winter semester. I did as a final work, a 10-minute short movie, which I'm planning to expand more and currently working on its reboot version. Did a few audio and later movie trailer related assignments. We muted some scene we chose to from the movie, and then we added our artificial sounds or just make the scene from sound point of view by ourselves. Then we got a movie related movie trailer, which was basically that we took our favorite game owned by Choose Game and make it in some format. I chose Halo as my main game and had to make it in Marvel style trailer. So when it comes to a media itself, I had Facebook as my first media platform, which my sister made account for me to play the Facebook games. I remember one to be some sort of a fish game. Yeah, it was a fish game. Then of course, Instagram and YouTube followed with major influence on how I see the world and what are my hobbies now. I kinda stick for YouTube videos reviews for movies and games. Watch let's plays, and gameplays for games. Since I wasn't a PC/computer guy, I was PlayStation guy. But about that later. I started to watch behind the scenes and now even VFX insights for movies and shows, with many VFX supervisors and directors of the movies themselves explaining and showing the process of developing the movie. Thanks to that, I know I'm upset with movies and shows. For that, I owe 6 official streaming platforms. One of these Netflix, then you got HBO Max, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime Video, Sky Showtime, and Apple TV Plus. And that stays with till these days. Perhaps one day I'll be there sitting and explaining the process of my movies as well as a director in these VFX shows. That would be the dream come true. From that, I'll move on to the last section. It is my hardware experience. I'll start with those old box-shaped, computer we had in school club. The ones that when you touch the screen, you could have felt the electricity insetting into your skin. Well, those were our main source of gaming in primary school. I remember the time limit for those lads. 30 minutes only, so each kid that wanted to play would have the opportunity. This was my jam at the time, was playing websites like Frio or EA. We won't end in the school club yet, because here, me and my friend, we were bringing some time this little guy, which I believe half of this class will have included in their Technobiography as well, since it was popular and sold at the time we were kids. It belonged to our generation and now only Japan is still producing and selling it. I used to crack few games online, on websites, but I do have few legal CDs with the games. The device is called PSP, which in short is PlayStation Portable. At the same period, which was the primary school, I had the chance to play at my friend's house on PS1. The legit PlayStation 1 games such as Crash Bandicoot, which sticks with me so long that I remember the best installment with PlayStation 2 that my cousin owned. Crash Twinsanity, man. That was something else. I did play it on others' cousin PC. Later I even tried PlayStation 3, but it wasn't long till I got myself PlayStation 4. A year 2017 was written when my dad bought me PlayStation 4 with few games. I immediately started to using it and stick to it till these days. Now we got a newest generation with PlayStation 5 and I'm still playing on PS4. I'll move back to the third year of high school when I got this gaming notebook. Right from the start I upgraded the programs and started to use more high quality graphics, since before I had pretty old only for work notebook that didn't hold any games. It was the main reason why I was never the PC guy. Rather I didn't have one or I had slow and old one. It was a good notebook, don't get me wrong, but for my needs it wasn't enough. That changed with this Lenovo Legion. I was finally able to fully start modeling in 3D space or programming without surprising freezes or errors. The software I used, thanks to this notebook I was able to increase my skills with them. With those skills, access to software and strong notebook, I did my final project for the high school, which I'm gonna determine as my penultimate hardware device experience on this list. It's this little guy, my own work. It's a camera that was designed, built by my own hands. I used Eagle for diagram, made a blueprint out of it, bought required parts, constructed the whole model on motherboard and the solder parts on it. I used Arduino as main code source to make it work. Arduino was the only choice because the parts and chips I needed for this project were made by this brand. I used YouTube to inspire with circuit diagram coding as well. Then I tested it and made handmade cover for it since our school 3D print wasn't available. So last but not least, we got ourselves digital writing pad, which is the most latest device I own. I bought it for the winter semester for the subject and learn and improve my skills with Photoshop with it. Those drawings I showed you previously, those were made on this pad. I even tried sculpting and modeling few projects in Blender and in 3D Max. And it makes a pretty much good experience with it. It's really easy to use. I always was a supporter of digital artists, but don't get me wrong, I still support and I think the hand drawing, when you're pushing the pressure on the pencil and the lines, it does feel satisfactional and has a different aesthetic of it. But this pad I use does simulate these things pretty decently, at least from my point of view. So, that was my technobiography. I assume many of these devices and programs are also in your list of use, but if there was any pod which you haven't seen or used in your life, perhaps I do have some uniqueness in my technobiography. I hope you liked it regardless, and perhaps get interested in some of those programs or devices. So, till another time, see ya.